Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is time for the weekly wrap-up, and this is the Divine Comedy. It's a Greek tragedy. It is everything that you can imagine the world could ever be gone wrong. Anyways, we're here to catalog. We're here to document. Once again, are we getting closer to shit hitting the fan? Or are things getting better? In my opinion, we're once again taking major advances. We're taking running leaps and bounds off the lemming high dive. In fact, it's my opinion that we've gone so far, not only as a nation, but as a world. And not just politically, but economically, socially, and in all other ways. It's not a question of whether we're going to hit the fan or not anymore. It's a question of how hard we're going to hit when we get to the bottom of the cliff. Are we going to land in marshmallows? Are we going to land on the rocks? Anyways, let's get into this week, and then you get to decide for yourself. Okay, it's Saturday morning. Got a cup of my favorite beverage for the morning. And I want to remind everyone that at high noon Pacific Standard Time today, I'll be doing my live interview. You guys send in your questions to Jolene. She'll pick out the good ones. She'll pick out all of them. And I'm going to try and do a marathon session this week and try to get to everything. So, you guys send in your questions. Repeats, we'll only ask once. But get your question in. And I do appreciate it because when you guys ask questions, it helps me pull more information out, synthesize more information, think in areas and in ways I haven't really looked as deep as maybe I should have. And like I said, what that does is allows me to think more freely, more broadly, and I in turn give that back in the videos I present to you guys. I want to thank everyone for sponsoring the Prepared Mind at Patreon. I want to thank everyone who has backed us, who has been there. And if I could ask one thing right now, it's the one thing that the channel can no longer do for itself, and that is share our existence, the fact that we're here talking about prepping, shit hitting the fan, what is going on in the world. YouTube is absolutely smothering us in the public sphere of news, opinion, etc. In other words, the only growth we're going to get is because of you. So this is where you come in, sharing with friends, sharing with family, sharing with your brother, your sister, your dad, sharing with coworkers. And not, you can hit the share button and do that, or you can cut and paste the URL. But if you don't do that, right, they're going to kill not just my message, but your message. Because my message is your message. And it's also the message of everyone else out there, whether they know it or not, because everyone on YouTube that's alternative or fake, we all have this message of hope. We have a message of prepare. We have a message for wake up. We have a message for look over there. And we're being silenced. And it's not so much that John can't be heard, it's that the thousands of people we used to reach out to and grow every month, they're being deafened by the censorship. It's not the silence of me, it's the deafening of the rest of the planet. And again, it's not my message that's being deafened. It's also yours. It is the message of the world, and it's being stopped. So anyways, I wanted to get that out there. Big shout out to the rsyndicate.com. It is up. It is going. It is your yellow pages. It is your directory of prepping and economics and news and alternative. If you've got a channel, go over to the rsyndicate.com. And if you don't see your favorite channel or news outlet on there, send an email to the administrator, Uman, and he'll get it up there. Because if they take us off of YouTube, if they take us off of Patreon, if they take us out of social media circles, you can go there, find your guy or your gal, right? And you can go see where they are at, because that's where we're going to keep everyone stored. And it's not, it doesn't help me, it doesn't help you, it doesn't help any one person, it helps all of us. It is, in other words, a true collective place of liberty. It's the town square within our town square. That's what it's kind of become. A little bit odd that it fell into our lap, because we're just regular guys. Seriously, we're just regular fucking guys. You wouldn't believe it. A plumber, IT type guy, a machinist, a fucking contractor. We're just regular little people. But we want to get our syndicate out there so people can get back to the news if it gets erased or removed or hidden or blocked 100%. Okay, so moving on to the week's topics. What has happened this week? Well, sometimes I go, did something really happen? And then I look at my note paper through the week and I go, yeah, I guess some shit did happen. So one of the first things I want to get into is Trump a deep state pawn? Is he a deep state player? Is he on the board? Is he bigger than a pawn? Is he like a rook? Is he a knight? Is he a bishop? What the hell is he? Well, I have been saying, why would the deep state have a pawn or have a player on the board like Trump that's going to expose them for who they are and call them bad guys and want to get rid of them and drain the swamp? Well, in all truth, I was initially impressed, but now I'm not so impressed. I'm becoming less impressed with his effort to drain the swamp. Campaign slogan, mediocre effort. Yeah, a lot of people have gone to jail, but not the people that matter. And I'm pissed about that. I'm disappointed about that. We have basically a year and a half to go before the next presidential election. We have about a year to go before the campaigning starts. The serious, in-your-face, I can't fucking believe they're this stupid campaigning. So my question used to be, why would they do that to themselves? Why would they expose themselves if it's going to result in them being arrested and taken out and everything else? Well, now I'm saying, it seems like all Trump is in there is to keep the political right stirred, pissed off, in an uproar, just as the Democrats are keeping the political left stirred, pissed off, upset, and staring at us. The call for a civil war, or a call for the potential for a civil war. No one's calling for it, but everyone seems to be getting ready for it. A partisan war between the left and the right. If there's anything the politicians are doing, is blaming not only themselves, but blaming all of us out here. Blaming all of us, so that we hate not only them, but each other. We're in each other's faces. When shit hits the fan, it's going to be a fucking mess. It's going to be a mess. Right? And so is that what Trump is really doing? Is that what he's really good at? Or is he really a good guy? I still don't know for sure, because the facts are obscured. What I do know is that if he is trying to do anything, it is being obstructed. It is being blocked, and the deep state is a very real animal. All we can do, you and me, all we can really do is prepare. We can keep an eye out. We can communicate with each other. We can network socially and personally. But we can't change a thing in Washington. We can try and support Trump. We can try and boo and shout down idiots like AOC. But there's really nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. So, are we getting closer or further with Trump? The longer we go without people who should be in prison, people like Hillary, Comey, Brennan, as long as they're running loose, Rod Rosenstein, as long as those people, those high-ass bureaucrats are there, with all their cronies, all their fascist and communist cronies running around inside Washington, battling each other, as long as they're there, we're going to be stuck out here in the cold, facing potential shit hits the fan. Moving on, Chinese troops and Russian troops, advisors, infrastructure planners are in Venezuela. Yes, they are. And there is way more than that's going on. And it's also closer. A lot of people are saying, Venezuela, it's in our backyard. Well, the Chinese have been in port cities all around the world. Right? They're buying up, trying to get ports in Italy. They got the Panama Canal. They're all over the place. And it's not just China. It's not just Russia. The U.S. has hundreds of military installations, just military, around the world in our neighbors and our enemies, supposedly, front and backyards and side yards, etc. They're all doing the same thing. Right? They're all doing the same thing. Our country, their country, they're jockeying for position. They're trying to get the ever increasingly scarce resources for themselves because we're heading into a global unsynchronized depression. The governments keep talking about a global synchronized recovery, but it's more like a global, ununified, unorganized, grabastic run into recession and depression is where we're heading. And they're trying to get cheap resources. Venezuela has been a chaotic hotspot. It's been in the lead of collapse. They collapsed their currency, went into mega hyperinflation over 1,000,000%. Not $1 million or pesos or bolivars, 1,000,000%. Their currency. Can you imagine someone handing you $1 and then saying, I'll take 1/1,000,000th on that, please? You'd be like, I can't even cut a piece of paper off of the dollar bill small enough to represent that. That's what they've done to their currency. That's what is coming to America right now, and I'll get to that. Okay, so why are they there? Why is Russia, why is China in Venezuela? They have two major resources that are incredibly valuable in today's economic disastrous situation, gold and oil. Now, I know that the oil in Venezuela is crap. It's deep, it's sludge-like, it's shit, it needs a lot of processing, but it's still oil. It's expensive to get out of the ground, but it still has value. As Steve St. Angelo would probably say, you have to look at the return on energy, return on investment in energy, the return on, right? How much energy does it take to get 1 barrel of that out? If it takes 2 barrels of energy to get 1 barrel out, it's a negative, it's a loser. It's not that bad in Venezuela. But still, it is a resource. It's underdeveloped or not being developed to the extent that others would like it to see developed. The danger in Venezuela, the reason it represents a serious shit-it's-the-fan risk, is that like many other hotspots in the world in the past, things have been tight economically. And there's tension between different nations, competing nations. And an event can occur. Sinking of the Lusitania. They were moving some arms around. They weren't supposed to, but they were. Right. How about Southeast Asia in the 60s? It was a French colony, Vietnam was. And they started having problems down there. There's a lot of tension between the communists in China and forces in the West. It erupted in a fake event called the Gulf of Tonkin incident. It was fake, absolutely fabricated bullshit. And the U.S., the United States government, used it as an excuse to militarily put itself into Vietnam. Now, what is fascinating is that the Russian military is now training helicopter pilots with Russian military helicopters in Venezuela, or they're going to start that very soon. Right? So there is military being brought into a place that's a hotbed of economic concern, much like South Vietnam, the Pearl of the Orient. I don't know if you've ever heard that. South Vietnam or Vietnam is called the Pearl of the Orient. It's just an incredibly beautiful and beneficial and wealthy place, believe it or not, for resources. And it became a site of war. Venezuela could easily become the same thing with an event, whether it's natural or organic, or whether it's fabricated and false flag. Shit hitting the fan can result from that. We don't have the money to fight that kind of a war. We already pay exorbitant amounts of taxes. Now, I don't want to hear, oh, you just got a tax cut, John. Relax. No, because there's a hidden tax. It's called inflation, and it's coming. And if we have to start printing a bunch of cash and currency to pay arms manufacturers, they're going to devalue your currency in order to pay them with money that is worthless. You will be taxed that way to pay for a war, even though you won't see it in raw numbers. You'll feel it when you try and buy something, when you try and support your family. That is a serious shit hits the fan situation. Now, speaking of the oil, why is that important? You have not been asleep at the wheel. You may or may not be aware of what's going on with oil. But oil was down almost to $40 a barrel less than 6 months ago. So in less than 6 months, it's gone up. And today it went up almost, or Friday, this week, not the whole week, just Friday alone, 1.8, I believe, 7%, almost 2%. Oil is shot up over, in my opinion, 40%. Looking at the numbers, doing the math, it's pretty simple math. I may be off 1%, but we're just going to call it 40. We're going to round it to that nice number. In less than 6 months, oil has gone up 40%. Is it a valuable commodity? Yes. If it continues to go up, it'll become more valuable. That's a hell of a reason to be in Venezuela, don't you think? All right. Now I want to move on to some of my favorites, and I wrote their names down just because I love them so. Maxine Waters, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Joe Creepy Freaky Biden, Bernie the Commie Sanders, and Elizabeth, I don't even want to give you a nickname, Warren. They're all fomenting political strife, destruction, hatred, vilification. And I call them scumbags because they are. I'm citing, or I'm basing my opinion on fact. If you choose to dismiss the facts, then that's your option. That's your prerogative. But as far as I'm concerned, they're scumbags. They're fomenting the destruction of the body politic in the United States of America by calling for hatred and division, for singling people out and identifying them for their political views and then destroying their lives. I myself have been attacked on grounds that are socio-political in an attempt to destroy my life. And I'm just a nobody. I can't imagine the pressure that a lot of these families are in. People who are Republicans and trying to make a difference. But this is what they're calling for. And it's leading to a social or a street level response. There's fear. There's going to be violence. There's hatred. There's partisan conflict. There's going to be chaos and riots. It's coming. We've already had a taste of it. Way back in the Obama administration, which was just a couple years ago, we had problems. We had riots. We had the President of the United States not instigating, but putting some extra logs on the fire, so to speak. We're seeing that sort of activity out of our politicians. And yesterday I did my video for Patreon outside. It was a nice day. Today it's a little cooler and wetter. But it's going to get warm. It's going to be springtime. It's going to get hot. And when we start having more trouble, economically, politically, people are going to get more heated with themselves and with each other. Now, something happened, and this is absolutely fascinating. New Zealand had their gun ban. They had their false flag shooting, mosque shooting. And I believe it was, based on the information, the investigations I've looked into, the facts, the evidence that has been highly suppressed, right? But guess what they did? They just got rid of all of their guns, the assault weapons, automatic weapons. And it's interesting that was countered over here in America this week by a ruling from a federal judge that said California's magazine capacity limit is unconstitutional. Federal judge wrote, I believe, an 80-page legal opinion saying it destroys the Second Amendment, right? It infringes. When you infringe on something, you are taking part of it. You're destroying it. You're annexing it. And so to take a little is to try and take all. And so he made it, he threw it out and said, nope, it's unconstitutional. Well, guess what? On Thursday, the same judge, according to an article in thetruthaboutguns.com, and I'm sure the story was covered elsewhere, the same judge has put basically a stay on his own ruling, right? It's incredible to me. There was a movie called Bananas, and it's a ridiculously stupid movie by Woody Allen, who is himself a reprehensible human being. But he did this movie called Bananas, and in one of the scenes, he is both a lawyer, prosecutor, barrister, and the witness on the stand. And he runs from the witness stand and then questions himself and then answers himself and questions himself. And it was so stupid, right? But I blocked it out. That's fucking Woody Allen. But when I talk about Atlas Shrugged and I say, at the end of that book, the politicians that are being depicted in that story are so stupid, it is unbelievable. Yet, right, today, our real politicians are acting that stupid. They're doing things that are intentionally destroying everything. And here we have a court case, against a clearly unconstitutional move. And it doesn't matter if it's unconstitutional, because the Democrats, anywhere, because they're socialists of whatever flavor, fascist or communist, it doesn't matter, they're all socialists. They believe the ends justifies the means. They go totally Machiavellian. They don't give a shit. Anything that opposes their view, they just throw out, and they don't need the law. Anyways, it's absolutely asinine what is going on in our world, especially in the United States. But this judge overturns them on the grounds of constitutionality and then puts a stay in his own order on Thursday. Right? So can it be any more crazy? How can you overturn your own decision? How can you do that? How is it possible? What kind of ridiculous world are we in? Ah, yes. The one that's jumping off the cliff. It is suicidal. The lemmings jumping off the cliff, and killing themselves. It's not just a joke. It is completely representative of what the human race is doing. They're doing everything in their power to physically and psychologically kill themselves. And it makes me wonder if I woke up on the wrong planet again. Incredible. Sorry, California, you had less than a week to go buy 30-round magazines and higher capacity magazines for your weapons. What a ridiculous thing. And then I have this one little thing here, and it's a tiny little news story. And I'm going to title it, Are You Kidding Me? The China-U.S. trade deal. For months, back when this started, Trump was hardline. This is the line in the sand, China. You're going to back up. You're going to obey. You're going to do this. We're going to tariff you. We're going to do this and that and the other. And you're going to play ball. And I'm the president. And, yeah, that didn't work. China said, F you, in very nice political terms. They just said, no, we're not doing it. And so Trump has been trying to drag them back to the table. And I keep saying every week, how hard is it? You sit down, you go, these are our terms. And what are your terms? And these are our minimum terms. And are they acceptable to you? And if you say no, they walk away. China's walked away for months. But every week, the stock market, the ones that Michael Pinto calls carnival barkers, I call them circus clowns. They run out on the camera and they do entertaining things to try and make people believe everything's all right. And they tell everyone, we're almost to the deal with China. We're right there. It's going to fix everything. And I keep jumping up and waving my hands, not like a clown, but like that guy at a construction site you're speeding into and there's a fucking cliff, right? The road's washed out. The road is washed out. You're driving your car into the China deal and there's no road there. We don't have the cash to keep buying shit, whether it's got a tariff on it or not. The China deal will not fix our economy. Yet, the carnival barkers are there. The clowns are there. The asshats on parade are there, saying everything's fixed, the economy's fine. It's not. Now, what happened this week? Absolutely fascinating. And I'm going to try and save my voice so that at noon I can actually talk for a couple of hours. They're saying that by the year 2025, this is now the deal the Trump administration is offering China. We want you to promise, we want you to pinky swear that by 2025, in 6 years, we want you to swear that you'll play nice then. Don't worry about today or tomorrow or the rest of this year, next 5 years. We want you to just play nice in 6 years. We want you to promise and commit to that. Can you do that for us? That's where they're at. They have already sold 100 times over. They've sold 100 times over the prosperity that would come from working a China deal to keep prices low that would help our economy to the degree that people could buy shit for less and maybe what, pay down debt? Yeah, there's a good fucking idea, huh? Start saving some wealth in the form of cash or gold or silver instead of just pumping money into Wall Street and inflating it so the bankers can take it away. Yep, that's what the China deal is. And so I say, are you kidding me? That is the deal? In 6 years, you're going to promise to be good? How would you like to go to a mugger? Because we pay close to $1 trillion a year in a trade deficit to China. In other words, we just put $1 trillion worth of gold on a boat and just ship it to China every year. $1 trillion in gold. Do you know how many tons of gold that is? You know how many tons we don't have here anymore? That's the equivalent. Just sending our GDP overseas. If our GDP is 20 trillion and we have a trade deficit of 1 trillion, we're shipping them 5% of our annual wealth a year. 5% of U.S. wealth growth is shipped overseas in a deficit to China. I mean, how many different ways can I say it? Can anyone else say it to make it more clear? They claim it's only $675 or $750 billion a year. No, it's closer to $1 billion. I'm sure of it. I've heard those numbers as well. And you know how governments love to tell the truth. Just take the number and add another 33 to 66%. Thank you very much. Are you kidding me? The optimism has been spent. The hope for change is pointless. Pointless. And I want to end this presentation on our economy here in the United States. I wrote a couple of notes here. The economy is so weak, the stock market illusion is failing. Right? Failing. A couple of weeks ago, the federal chairman came out and he did what? He stopped. He said, we're not doing any more quantitative tightening. We're not going to raise rates. We're not going to burn any more cash. Right? Because we're going to be cautious. Well, it's not that he wants to be cautious. It's that the economy, what little spark, what little steam there is left in the boiler, is being dampened by what they were doing. Now, he couldn't come out and say, we're going to lower rates and we're going to pump a bunch of cash out there, because if he had gone that much, if he had not only stopped the train but reversed it right there, there would have been absolute panic. Now, since he did that, a lot of red flags went up. People went, oh shit, right? Oops, that was not good, right? So much for confidence in the Fed. What happened next? Whoopsie daisy, we had a bond yield inversion. The U.S. bond is taking a crap. There was another big oh shit, because when you take your money out of what? One investment, you got to put it somewhere. So they started throwing it into the bonds, throwing it into short-term, it's a nightmare. The bond market is a absolute quagmire. So what has happened since then? Well, just this week, That's right, just this week. In fact, it was just Thursday. President Donald J. Trump came out and said, oh, wait, let me back up. He wants to appoint more people to the Federal Board of Directors, the Federal Reserve Board. I can't even remember the letters. Just exhausting to think about everything that's happening this week. He was trying to stack the deck in his favor for his political agenda having to do with our monetary policy. He wants to put someone else on there who's going to raise quantitative easing back, put it on the table. And he wants to lower rates. They talked about first, 15 to 25 basis points or a quarter point. Now we're up to 50. That's what they're talking about. You got Larry Kudlow, who is treasurer, or no, he's an advisor. You've got Mnuchin. He's got other people he's trying to put in the Fed because he wants it known. Quantitative easing is coming, right? What does that mean? He wants it ready. He wants them prepared to do it. And yesterday I talked about the banks, primarily J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon coming out and saying, hey, look, we're not preparing for a recession at J.P. Morgan, but we just want you to know that if something happens, we're prepared. We're ready to handle it. Well, you don't prepare and get ready and able to handle something unless you suspect it's actually going to happen. You don't get ready to raise quantitative easing back into the public limelight and then reduce the lending rate, the interest rate, unless you know it's going to be needed. Why talk about it? Why plan for it? Why position your people, your players in the Federal Reserve unless you know that's what is going to be needed? In other words, they are not only telegraphing, they're announcing it is coming. And there's going to be an event. And I don't mean a false flag event. It could be. But there's going to be an event. And I've been talking about an event for weeks and weeks and weeks now. There's going to be the moment when they just come out and go, oh, by the way, the recession is here. Or we don't have the tax revenue. Or we're going to have to lower the rates and put quantitative easing. They're not going to want to be loud about it, but it's going to echo like the fucking Grand Canyon was blasted with a cannon. Because they've been telling us what they're doing. Whoops, the market's bad. Whoops, the economy's bad. The market back in December. The economy, when Federal Chairman Powell came out and says, we're stopping our quantitative tightening and raising of rates. And then the bond market inverting. And then the president coming out and saying, we're getting ready for QE while I stack players in there that want to lower rates. The next move, when they do that, there's going to be a mad dash into precious metals at some point because they're going to realize owning cash is bad. The dollar's going to collapse. The economy is shit. The stock market has fallen. Buying bonds, pointless because inflation, which is already way higher than they admit, is just going to get higher. And that means if you hold cash, dollars, they're going to be worthless. Right? They're going to lose value, in other words, overnight. They're worth less. Right? The word worthless, people think, means zero. No, worth less. I don't want to be handed a pile of gold and then have it evaporate into the air. I wouldn't want that. I don't want dollars if they're going to evaporate into the air. Right? So people are going to go to the safe haven of safe havens, and it's precious metals. Please share this video, share all of my videos, share the site, share the concept, share the R Syndicate, share hotspotmetals.com, share every resource you know of. Share them all with people you know because we've got to get the word out. People need to understand there is something they can do. Not about the world. It is done. They need to prepare for themselves. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Preserve your wealth. Know the world around you. In the 10-mile radius around you, because that's your world when shit goes bad. When the event happens, there's a war coming. Right? What is the event going to be? The stock market's toast. And the dollar just collapsed. And the Federal Reserve is going to pump a bunch of cash out there. It is nothing but bad news coming our way. Sorry to say, I would love to come here and say, look, they're giving out free unicorn shit on every corner, and when you plant that in your yard, you'll get a money tree. I mean, I'd love to say that was the case, but it's not. Folks, it comes down to this. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Semper Fi. Godspeed. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Thank you for coming to Patreon. $2 a month. That's all it is. Right? To help sponsor what it is we do to get the news out. Thank you guys very much. And I'll see you at high noon Pacific Standard Time.